Outside the White House and around the world, reaction to President Trump's decision punishing. Overnight, Paris City Hall lit up in green, as well as New York City's One World Trade Center, a show of support for the landmark deal.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
After that bombshell announcement in the Rose Garden,
I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
World leaders like Germany's Angela Merkel and France's Emmanuel Macron pouncing.
Make our planet great again.
The business world outraged too. Leaders like Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, Tesla's Elon Musk, and Disney's Bob Iger are criticizing the move. Hollywood icons like Leonardo DiCaprio tweeting that today our planet suffered. President Obama, too, calling out an absence of American leadership, saying that the U.S. should be at the front of the pack.
Forward. Hundreds of demonstrators have gathered outside the White House to protest against President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, the hard-fought global deal to battle climate change. Environmental groups joined trade unions and concerned Americans to voice their fury.
This is a decision that cedes the leadership of the 21st century to countries like China, to our economic competitors, that will have no benefit for the American working class and the American economy. Every human being on earth lost today, but no one lost more than the American people.
Trump says he's fulfilling his solemn duty to protect the American people. The wider world sees the move as further endangering the planet and deepening the growing rift between the US and its allies.
The Trump administration really wants its travel ban reinstated. President Donald Trump and the Justice Department submitted a petition to the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday. They asked the court to review lower court rulings that blocked a temporary ban on people from 6 Muslim-majority countries from traveling to the U.S. The petition argues that as president, Trump has broad authority to restrict foreign nationals from entering the country if it's in the nation's interest. It also says the countries included in the ban present heightened terror risks. The request comes roughly a week after the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the travel ban should be kept on hold. 4 of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court have to agree to hear the case for it to go anywhere, and there's a chance that won't happen soon. The court's term typically ends in June or early July and doesn't start up again until October. The Trump administration wants its ban to start during the recess until the court can hear the case. 5 of the 9 justices have to vote yes for that to happen.
Evening prayer as the sun sets over Trump Tower in New York City. Muslims joined by people of different faiths and backgrounds in a show of solidarity in what they call the discriminatory policies of the Trump administration.
To be able to come together in community, Muslims and Jewish and other faiths, to say, you know what, Trump and this White House doesn't represent our values, they don't represent New York values, they don't represent American values. It's pretty incredible and something that I know I needed in this climate that we're in right now, and everything that's coming out of DC just seems to be so terrible.
But as Muslims here break their fast in a tradition known as iftar, there is also hope.
We're here really today in solidarity with our neighbors and allies in the Muslim and Arab community, particularly in a time when these communities are really under attack from the highest levels of government on down.
This must be like the happiest protest I've ever been a part of, because everyone's just so excited to start eating after a long day of rumination, reflection, and at the end of the day we can simultaneously eat and stand up for what we believe in.
The message coming from organisers and the diverse attendees here is one synonymous with New York City: tolerance. Tolerance not just for the Muslim community, but for the vast number of immigrants that make this city and country what it is.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Griffin. I am really nervous right now. I've never done a press conference. I don't really know how they work. Feel free to jump in. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. He's a bully. I've dealt with older white guys trying to keep me down my whole life, my whole career. I'm a woman in a very male-dominated field. I love what I do. I love making people laugh more than anything in the world. And I have learned over the years that sometimes when you do stand-up, and I've done it in a war zone, and I've done it at Walter Reed Hospital, and I've done it at Carnegie Hall, sometimes people want, a joke that's out there and a little crazy. So regarding the image that I participated in, that apology absolutely stands. I feel horrible. I have performed in war zones. The idea that this, made people think of this tragedy, to have been touched by this tragedy, is horrifying and it's horrible. Trust me, if I could redo the whole thing, I would have had a blow-up doll and no ketchup. I make mistakes. I'm an out-there comedian. I'm an in-your-face comedian. But I just wanted to say, if you don't stand up, you get run over. And what's happening to me has never happened, ever, in the history of this great country, which is that a sitting president of the United States and his grown children and the First Lady are personally, I feel, trying to ruin my life forever.
Do you have fear for your career after this storm dies down?
Absolutely. I don't think I will have a career after this. I'm going to be honest, he broke me. He broke. And then I was like, no, this isn't right. It's just not right. And I apologized because that was the right thing to do and I meant it. And then I saw the tide turning and I saw what they were doing and I went, oh, okay, they're trying to spin this and they're making it about Barron, and obviously that was never my intent. I would never want to hurt anyone, much less a child, but I started to see what was really happening. And then it was a mob mentality pile-on. And so many people have expressed to me personally across the country at my shows, they're scared. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get arrested today. I don't know.
On Friday, dozens of people protested outside of the BBC's London headquarters against its decision not to broadcast a popular song that labels Prime Minister Theresa May a liar. Liar, Liar, GE 2017 by Captain SKA now tops Amazon's listing for songs downloaded in Britain and stands at number 2 in the Apple iTunes UK chart. The song puts together samples of May's speeches with a chorus of "She's a liar, no, you can't trust her." The BBC has refused to play the song because it violates their editorial guidelines and commitment to impartiality.
The world is a more peaceful place today compared to a year ago. That's according to the 2017 Global Peace Index. The Institute for Economics and Peace, which publishes the annual report, found the world became 0.28% more peaceful over the past year. The results were helped by a decline in state-sponsored violence and a decrease in the murder rate. Iceland keeps the title as the world's most peaceful country listed in the index, followed by New Zealand, Portugal, Austria, and Denmark. And on the other end of the spectrum, Syria is named the least peaceful country in the world for the 5th straight year. The biggest decliner in the study was the U.S., dropping 11 places. Researchers point to increasing inequality, rising perceptions of corruption, and falling press freedoms, among other factors, for the overall decline in peace in North America.
Despite initial police reports saying it was not terror-related, the terrorist group ISIS has claimed responsibility for an attack at a casino in the Philippine city of Manila that left 37 people dead. According to authorities, a lone gunman entered the resort's World Casino Friday morning, firing shots from an assault rifle and setting fires. He then reportedly committed suicide by lighting himself on fire. At least 37 people died in the resulting blaze, mostly from suffocation. Despite saying they orchestrated the attack, ISIS did not release names or pictures of the perpetrators who carried it out, which they tend to do. Philippine police have said multiple times that the attack is not related to terrorism, emphasizing that only one person was involved, not multiple attackers.
After mourning the dead, their sorrow has turned to anger. More than 1,000 demonstrators gathered at the site of Wednesday's bombing, many of them calling for President Ashraf Ghani to step down. It was the 15th attack in Kabul in the past 12 months, the deadliest since 2001, and many residents say they no longer trust the government to keep them safe.
We want justice for our people. We want senior security officials to resign. As an Afghan citizen, I cannot expect explosions and suicide attacks every day. When we go to work, we have no hope to come home alive. How much longer do we have to put up with this?
As the protesters tried to break through a security cordon to march towards the presidential palace, Afghan police fired live rounds in the air to disperse them.
President Ashraf Ghani supports the Taliban. He is a criminal and he is a nationalist. He responded to our peaceful protests with guns and bullets. He must resign.
Wednesday's attack was launched from an explosives-laden sewage tanker. It was detonated near the gates of the embassy district during morning rush hour. Most of the victims were Afghan civilians, including women and children.
At least 15 children in South Sudan are dead after receiving a contaminated measles vaccine. A joint statement from the World Health Organization and UNICEF says the children died of severe sepsis or toxicity after receiving the vaccine. And investigators say human error was to blame. During a 4-day immunization campaign in May, the vaccine team reportedly used the same syringe on every child and failed to properly store the vaccine. Both the WHO and UNICEF expressed their deep regret and sadness for the incident. The Associated Press reports health officials are continuing the measles campaign regardless. The campaign aims to help more than 2 million children in South Sudan. According to data from the WHO, more than 1,600 measles cases have been reported across the country since the start of 2016. At least 19 of those cases were fatal. Measles is just one of the many hardships South Sudan is facing. The country has been devastated by years of civil war, famine, and a recent cholera outbreak.
More pressure on North Korea. It's clear that's Washington's immediate game plan in dealing with the regime's threats. The Trump administration announced more sanctions to tighten the noose around the rogue state. Kwon Jang-ho outlines what they are.
The U.S. Treasury announced a new set of sanctions against North Korea on Thursday. Several North Korean organizations and individuals have been added to a growing blacklist as the Trump administration looks to slow down the further development of the regime's nuclear program. Making their debut on the blacklist are 3 top state agencies, 6 trading companies that fund or supply North Korea's nuclear program, and 3 individuals, which include a North Korean intelligence official and an overseas bank executive. But what has raised a few eyebrows is that 2 Russian companies and one of its directors have also been included in the list. Russia's deputy foreign minister is said to have been alarmed by this and that Moscow was preparing retaliatory measures.
Shifting gears to Syria, our president has said that you're backing an evil guy there. He said Assad is an evil guy. Do you believe that?
Believe in what? That Assad is an evil man?
Yes.
An evil guy? You've got to ask the other leaders who have communicated with Assad. He was more often in Europe after being elected than in Russia. It is not President Assad whom we are protecting there. We are protecting the Syrian statehood. We don't want there in Syria to be a situation similar to that in Libya or in Somalia or in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, NATO has been present for many years, but the situation is not changing for the better. We want to preserve the Syrian statehood.
We have some really cool videos to help explain exactly what Air Force Academy cadet Haley Weir and Assistant Professor Dr. Ryan Burke did, so bear with us here. Now, here is Weir and Dr. Burke at the Academy. While in a chemistry class, she came up with an idea to not only stop a bullet, but to do so in a way that is much lighter and more flexible than current anti-ballistics. Dr. Burke was skeptical. Weir's idea involves a concept called shear thickening fluid. To help him visualize it, she poured water into a bowl of cornstarch, asked him to put his finger in the mixture with force. He says he almost broke it. Done slowly, an object will push right in. Add speed, it's practically impossible. They got to work and combined the fluid with anti-ballistic materials. The ingredients are secret, but mixed and spread on the front of this block stops a 9mm bullet. Same goes for a .44 Magnum. It stops it from penetrating. More research is being done right now at the Air Force Civil Engineer Center in Florida with a co-inventor who they work with. Weir's ultimate goal is to lighten the load for those in combat. A full vest kit is 26 pounds with the ceramic plates. You replace those with this new material, it could lighten things by 2/3.
So with this is something that our competition doesn't have right now. And with this advantage, our soldiers, if they wear it as body armor, will be able to move faster, run farther, jump higher.
China has announced plans to construct an underwater observation system in the East and South China Seas. State media CCTV reported May 27th that the central government recently approved the plan. CCTV said the system is intended for oceanic studies as well as other areas like national defense and disaster warning. However, scientific research was portrayed as the main reason for the system, supposedly providing data and experiments for maritime research. China's claim to large parts of the South China Sea have brought it into conflict with the Southeast Asian neighbors who claim some of the same waters. The East China Sea is also a contentious area where China and Japan both lay claim to the same group of islands. The observation network will reportedly cost 2 billion yuan or nearly $294 million and take 5 years to construct.
Russia and Iraqi Kurds signed an oil deal today on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg World Economic Forum. Now, under the agreement, Russia gets access to a Kurdish oil pipeline and will participate in the creation of a new joint company.
We signed a series of agreements with Iraqi Kurdistan on several issues, in particular on extraction, construction of infrastructure, supplies and access to a large oil pipeline between Kurdistan and Turkey. This is a very significant expansion with the agreement to last 20 years. It could be the biggest contract signed at this forum so far. Big players are now willing to work in Kurdistan. There is space for all.
Now, the Prime Minister of the Iraqi Kurdistan was here to hold the negotiations and then to eventually sign the deals. He also talked with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and I asked him for comment just as he left that room. Take a listen to what he told me about what appears to be an increasing level of cooperation between Erbil and Moscow.
For us, this is an opportunity again in St. Petersburg to expand the relationship in all the fields, the energy sector and politically and economy with Russia.
Офигеть.
The year's Atlantic hurricane season officially began Thursday, but the federal agency that's in charge of forecasting hurricanes doesn't have a permanent leader. That's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It's the president's job to nominate someone to fill the agency's administrator position. But as of June 2nd, President Donald Trump has yet to do so. Some of Trump's predecessors moved fast to submit their nominees to the Senate for approval. Barack Obama announced his choice about a month before his 2009 inauguration, and Bill Clinton submitted his pick about a month after his. is. On the other hand, George W. Bush waited until the middle of September. NOAA's forecasters predict this year's hurricane season could be pretty dangerous. An average season produces 6 hurricanes. Forecasters think we'll see as many as 9 in 2017. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is responsible for responding to disasters, is also without an official administrator. Trump did nominate a FEMA director in late April, but the Senate has yet to confirm his nomination.